Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Natural Aquarium with Ryan Smith. Today, I got inspired. I gained a 40-gallon aquarium thanks to one of my students. Thank you very much, Tyler. And I decided to go with a cave build. And to do so, I knew that I didn't want to do a bunch of rocks because it would be very heavy. So, first things first, whenever you get a new aquarium, please water test it, folks. Fill it up. Make sure it doesn't leak. Check for bubbles in the sealant. Otherwise, you'll be very unhappy later. Next thing I knew I needed to do was fill out a frame, and that would be where I'm going to end up putting a bunch of spray foam to make the structure that will look like a cave. So I set this up with a bunch of scrap that I had laying around. It was PVC and things that I knew wouldn't interact with the water. After that, got a whole bunch of cans of foam and just went at it. And since this is a rather long video of just me spraying things onto this structure here, I figured I'd take the time to give you a little bit about myself. I know that I just came onto the channel and we weren't properly acquainted. So I've got a lot of things. First off, here's my first aquarium. I started that back during the pandemic, as some of you may have, and then it spread, and there's even more, and then today there's even more in my house, and there's that first aquarium still sitting there on the middle shelf. And I've even branched out and made things like paludariums. I'll probably have a video on that at some point in the future. My lovely pond, which sits on my back porch, is a wonderful place to relax during the day, along with my various jars that I just keep collecting every time, and all the other little experiments that you've come to be used to seeing on the channel. Don't worry, green water is coming soon. So, as far as what we're doing here with the structure, I'm just covering it with a pond-safe foam. The pond-safe foam is one that will not interact with the water column, completely non-toxic for aquatic things, which is great. And it's also not very heavy compared to rocks. So that's why I'm just spraying copious amounts of this stuff on there. And I kind of went for the expensive stuff. I didn't have anything else locally, and after spraying it once, I thought I was going to get a lot more mileage out of my can. I did not. So here's me trying to get a little bit of spread for saving $1, and I end up just running back and just buying more cans of this stuff to make it go. Also, you probably don't need the face mask like I have, but it did say it on the can, you know, like wear some protective eyewear, and definitely wear some gloves, folks, because this stuff is real sticky. And the cans themselves, yeah, they get a little sticky too, and make sure that you read all the directions on there or you're not going to get the best mileage out of your foam. You do need to shake it thoroughly. You do need to have this thing upside down when you're spraying. So, a little bit about myself. I'm a little bit of a world traveler. Hey look, here's the map. I've been to a great many places. I'll get to more continents as we go. Most of this was done through student travel groups. I was the teacher leader for these groups, and I was tasked, of course, with protecting all of these young people as they went and explored the world, which, by the way, is a wonderful thing to do. If you have the opportunity, please get out there and see the world, experience it. Where have I gone? I went to the Great Barrier Reef, took some wonderful pictures there, and over time, unfortunately, it's been a lot less colorful than it used to be. And there's New Zealand, wonderful place right there where we actually gave them some redwood trees, some hot springs in New Zealand, and you'll notice a theme here. I like to take pictures of nature. Nature is really the great balance here. I actually go out of my way sometimes to get a lot of angles that don't have any people or structures in it, and just to glorify what's going on with nature, which is why you'll see the majority of my content glorifying nature. So yeah, I've had a lot of privilege to go to some of these places, like, oh, there's the Hobbit hole, and really kind of experience a lot of things. And so I do try and bring in that worldly aspect to everything that I do. It's great to get out there and be inspired. So again, if you can travel, please do. Definitely one of the cooler things about traveling is getting to meet all these other people from different cultures, with different perspectives, different jobs, different things that, again, you can learn that, you know, hey, we're all humans, we're all in this together, we've all got our own personal stories going on, and we're all the better for sharing them. I mean, look at what humans have done over time. It's crazy, right? Including the Blarney Stone right there. I totally kissed that thing. It was disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, why did somebody put that in Versailles when I was there visiting? Nasty. But anyways, so one of the challenges here, as you can see as I'm spraying this foam, is that it doesn't really stick to the PVC so well, and you'll see that I end up coming up with a solution for this later, which is saw the thing in half and lay it down so that way I can get some good coverage. Yeah, the whole idea here is that I wanted to cover just about everything with this foam so that I'm not having any real gaps for little things to get stuck in. Like, I know snails love to get stuck in different places, and I would rather not have them rotting there. And that's the big key as far as this thing goes. So a little bit more. I love insects, okay? That's how I got into, I guess, the pet hobby, if you will. I've kept ants, I've kept isopods. Currently I keep all the isopods that our biology department uses all the time. And I've got quite the menagerie of those going on here too. A bunch of shoe boxes, they're real easy to maintain. And it all started with my Madagascar hissing cockroach, as you see here, and I eventually made a food web to kind of eat those Madagascar hissing cockroaches. So yeah, it's kind of a thing for me to not really focus on fish when it comes to the aquariums, because I'm mostly interested in the invertebrate life that's in there, so shrimp and the copepods and the moina and snails and everything like that, which, yeah, that's my thing, okay? I know a lot of you guys are in it for the fish, but yeah, don't expect too much fish knowledge out of me except for the few that I've kept. Unfortunately, I don't have all that much experience with them aside from what I did back in childhood. It's kind of interesting. We had a dojo loach, and that dojo loach managed to jump out of the aquarium and go 30 feet across the room and end up on the doorstep, only for me to find it the next morning and be totally disgusted by such a thing. Like, what the heck is this? So yeah, fun times there. First aquarium. Oh, and it was even more interesting because my father managed to kill them by not dechlorinating the water. So here's what we ended up with after doing all of this and doing a test fit. And there was lots of shaving to be done because I wanted things to fit a certain way, and with all that foam, it just expands where it wants to. My next step was painting it. I did a lot of research trying to find out, like, hey, what paints are people using? There's a few of them out there. I chose one of the ones that wasn't the main one, simply it was the one that I could get a hold of. And you're going to see me do a technique here where I'm putting magazine paper on. This is something I learned when I basically watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos and saw how all of these people that are working on the street and whatever make spray paint art, kind of like what you're seeing here. That's one of mine from the past. And so it's a wonderful technique for going and mixing the paints after you layer them. And yeah, you can get some really cool results like what we're seeing here in spray paint art. So that might be something that you want to pursue. And I also have worked with foam a bit before, made my own costumes and things like that. So foam and paint, I'm not a complete noob with these things. There is a little bit of rhyme and reason, which is why you'll see me layer things in a certain way and then use the magazine paper there to get a good mix afterward. And speaking of art, I've also done lots of digital type art. It's just something I can do. So these are some fractal arts that I made with a program called Apophysis. I'll just sit down for an hour at a time, just kind of banging away at triangles and stuff, and boom, some of this stuff came out. And then I did a little photoshopping for vibrance and saturation afterward. But yeah, it was an interesting time, back when I had time to myself in college and whatever. I didn't study much, didn't have to. And other art things that I've kind of pursued lately have been 3D printing. I have done decently well at that. And again, I just go ahead and whatever it is that might influence me, I just go ahead and I make it. And that's something that I guess I could impress upon you guys as well. Like, look, you might not know that one thing that you're really awesome with until you actually try it. So it might be aquariums already, and who knows what other talents you may have. I also used to do a little bit of 3D modeling and animation type things and graphics and whatever through Second Life, and that was an interesting pursuit too. I had a lot of fun with fleeing the gang over at Grendel's Children. Monsters, all of them, and all of them great. And yeah, it kind of extended to my car as well. I used to go and do a lot of car shows. Here's my lovely Scion, two-tone, basically every bolt-on and everything that I could do, I did. And some of that was with the help of my father. He's also just a very crafty guy. I mean, who would have thought somebody with the last name Smith, they can do crafty things? It's almost like it's genetic or something. I don't know. Well, yeah, and it extended to parts of my house too. There's my father right there. We do things like renovations and stuff every once in a while. So yeah, woo, good kitchen. Yeah, it's interesting. And speaking of fathers, I am in no way related to Fatherfish, our near and dear channel host here. I just so happened to hang out in Discord a lot, and I was able to help people identify a lot of invertebrates and things that they had found when making their resurrection jars. And then somehow I got looped into the making of the book, which, man, that was an interesting time there, where I spent literally every single bit of my free time, which is about 2 to 3 hours from the hours of like 9 to midnight most nights, just plugging away at typing this thing out, editing photos, working with Tommy and Perge and Maev and Tisha, and I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but I hope not. And so yeah, we all just kind of plugged away at this thing, and out pops this book, this amazing thing of like 500 pages and hundreds of photos. And yeah, and the only way you get this to happen, guys, is through collaboration. And there was definitely some bumps and stuff in the way. Like there were some folks that kind of contributed or didn't contribute or things like that. But yeah, we ended up with a winning team in the end here. Oh, look at that. Got a little Salt Bay pinch for you. What I'm doing right here is I'm adding some sand for texture. Oh, yeah, there's my first classroom. If you didn't know, I'm a teacher, and here's the current one. Everybody's masked, okay, so I can get away with this photo. And I got some cool things in there too, like an aeroponics wall. I may end up having a video on that a little bit later. I've been very lucky with, first off, my lovely colleagues, students. It's been a wonderful place to work, not without its ups and downs, of course, but yeah. And so I've been able to conduct some of these experiments that we needed for the book, and then also things that have ended up in videos. And yeah, I hope to present more with the things that are available to me as we go. One other thing that I inherited at school is an entire greenhouse and a garden and stuff. It's been an interesting thing, to say the least. I inherited it from the librarian, who basically had been there since it was set up and had been looking after all of these plants that are basically xeriscaping plants, ones that are very drought tolerant, come from Africa, come from Baja. And so that's been one of the things that I do too. I take care of dry plants. Here's our little test fit. It's always good to do a test fit. So I'm getting the pieces into place, making sure that everything is just so before we start going and gluing things. And there has been a lot of time elapsed in here, by the way, folks. This wasn't something that just happened in a day. You need to make sure that it's able to actually go and vent out all of the spray paint and stuff if you do go the spray paint route. So with the test fit approved, we hit it with some 100% silicone. And you want to make sure, of course, that there's no additives. It's just 100% silicone. There's a couple of brands out there that people are safe with, or you can, spend a little bit more and get those ones that specifically say aquarium use only or something like that. And so, yeah, I'm using that to hold everything together, because I know that it won't leach anything out into the water and harm the fish. And as far as aquascaping goes, guys, I am not the best aquascapist. Normally what I do is I take my empty tank, and I've got a general idea of what plants go where, and I shove them in there, and it's just a plant war, okay? I don't normally put like rocks and wood, so this is a real first for me. And this is something that you guys could do yourself too. And it might not come out right the first time, or you might not think it looks all right, but then if you keep tweaking it, you should hopefully end up with something that looks pretty cool. And that's basically what I did here. I went in, I've got some background, as you can see in certain things, and then we rolled with it. And I'm not too concerned about the top here either, because this is a part that's not going to be seen. I did have an idea of perhaps, putting a whole bunch of plants and stuff in the top, but unfortunately I live in a very dry climate, and there would be lots of evaporation. And that's kind of the thing that kind of screws up my water parameters, is that if I keep topping up with a lot of evaporation happening, the total hardness of the water just ends up going through the roof, and unfortunately it can have some ill effects in the fish. So this is my balance. I have to have a lid on everything to make sure that it doesn't get too hard. So you might have noticed that I'm not like going into great detail about how it's built and everything, and again, it's because I'm completely experimenting here. I've got all the basics down. There was lots of hours of like, oh, what silicone should I use, what paint should I use, what foam should I use, things like that. But I won't know until it turns out completely. And we will be seeing the end result. I'll give you a few little flashes of things here at the end. But as far as the video on that, that'll come a little bit later. I still need it to grow in a little bit. I did a little bit of a sparse planting, and then there were even some more experiments with how I set up the soil and the substrate, and I would like some time to see how those turn out. And that's kind of the unfortunate thing about YouTube here, is that you're really kind of pushed to push out something every week, because otherwise, yeah, the algorithm kind of ignores you a little bit, but then also, I don't know about you guys, but if I forget to do something every week, it starts to not become a habit. And well, we really do enjoy having all of you here sharing our experiences. And you know, if you want to get to share some of those experiences, don't forget, hop into our Discord. We've got plenty of people there, plenty of channels. You can find your niche, and we'd love to share the hobby with you. And speaking of that, I also recently joined the Tropical Fish Society in my area, and that's been a wonderful experience too. I got to go down there, I did a talk, and got to meet some of the local fish keepers in the area and some of the people that are helping to run some of the stores. And they also have auctions, which is a great way to get a lot of things for much cheaper than you would pay full price. And really, it's just people who enjoy this hobby, and they've gotten together and are sharing, and that's what I love about doing this right here, because otherwise I was just kind of thrown into it. So yeah, love it. Love the whole sharing. So here's what we get after we do all that siliconing and stuff. You gotta let it cure, and then voila, here's some steps from the future. I added a substrate. I went with a sand I've never used. We did some planting, and it got a little cloudy because of course I didn't wash the substrate, and then things started growing. What's next? Tune in next time.